Going to confess my feelings to my longtime friend. We are friends for more than 2 years now and I have crush on him since very beginning. I was not really able to confess, flirt, ask him out at the very beginning, so we became just friends. I really value our friendship, but it is really hard for me since I was always looking for something more with him. Lately I realized I cannot go with it any longer, I just have to try. I am really scared of rejection, but I understand now that even that might be beneficial in a long run. So yeah, I've asked him out today. I mean, it is not that weird for us, we are spending time together on almost weekly basis. This time will be different. I am ready to confess my feelings and I want to do this. I am still wondering on the details and how I want to do this, but I have to do this, it is long overdue. I am trying to prepare for this like for some kind of public speaking or presentation, but I do not know if it is a good approach. Should I act spontaneously and not plan everything? Is there any good method to overcome anxiety? Asked my longtime friend and a crush out today, and I am going to confess my feelings. Reply to the story. I would try to keep it somewhat casual if possible. Rather than saying I'm in love with you or something huge and sweeping like that, I would say, hey, I've really loved our friendship over the last 2 years, and for me I think it may have grown into something more. Lately I've had feelings for you and I wanted to have a conversation about that. And make sure that you do hold your boundaries if you need to if this doesn't go the way we all hope it does. Seriously rooting for you. You aren't a bad guy if he just wants to be friends and you don't think you can handle just friendship. Take the time and space you need and don't feel guilty if it comes to that. Good luck. I hope it goes well. Edit to add. Keep in mind that he might need some time to process. If this has never crossed his mind before, he may not have a yes or no answer but might need a bit of time to think about it. Thanks, I guess he does not need to know the whole story, there is no need to be creepy. I will keep in mind that he might not be able to answer immediately. Update: going to confess my feelings to my longtime friend. I remember that someone asked about update and it is always nice to share good news. Smile. So, TLDR is quite easy, I did confess my feelings eventually and it looked like my friend shared similar feelings. We agreed to promote our friendship and try this couples thingy. Smile. But I almost messed this up in every possible way. We had dinner and for few hours I was not able to force myself to start this topic at all. We almost parted our ways, but as we were talking in front of restaurant we figured out no one has better things to do on Friday evening this time. So we agreed to spend some more time together. We went to 2 other places to drink and dance a little, and me being me, I still was not able to say anything. That was just heartbreaking at this point. I had a last chance. He told me earlier about some projects he was working on, so I asked if I could see it. We went to his place, had one more glass of wine and were chilling for a bit. At one point we were teasing one another, in a playful way, and messing around. He was tickling me and to make him stop I pinned him down. I have no idea what I was thinking at that time, but I kissed him. I immediately panicked and backed off and he was like, "What was that?" I was scared like hell. But I told him that we have this unique bond and for some time I was feeling like I would like something more and asked him if he could see us as a couple. He told me that he really appreciates our friendships and trusts me a lot and then complimented me a little. But next thing he told me was really earth-shattering. Basically he didn't thought I might be into him romantically. He reminded me about one conversation we had. It was after my last breakup. I said something like there are no men I am really attracted to, which was straight up lie. I was attracted to him, just couldn't admit that, and because of that he was never thinking we could be a couple nor anything like that. I told him it was stupid thing to say then and I am attracted to him. So yeah, he proposed for us to try this and we kissed. I felt so happy and relieved and I started crying a little. But he was really comforting about it. And then one thing led to another and I was really great end of the day and all. So long story short, we are meeting today again for a real date. It will be a little bit weird as we already have trust and intimacy, from our friendship, that is usually built during dating. But it is nice to try it. I cannot wait, I think I was never so happy. Next story. I was going to leave my aloof and unloving husband, but he is suddenly acting extremely romantic and caring. I've been married to my husband for 5 years. We don't exactly have the fairy tale romance I imagined we would have. Actually, we don't have much of a relationship at all. It's like living with a roommate who you rarely see but you sleep with them. He's not the worst person in the world. He doesn't abuse me, he has never hit me or raised his voice at me. But our marriage is just so lonely. Before we got married, my husband was very charming. He had a way of making me feel like the most beautiful, amazing person in the room. Plus, my dad liked him, which was a miracle since my dad never thinks anyone is good enough, and I've always known I had to marry someone he approved of or I would be pretty much disowned. So the coldness in our marriage was a big shock to me. I've tried talking to him over the years, but because of my upbringing and also the advice I was being given in the early days, I didn't push as much as I should have to try to make things better. I found out I was pregnant 4 months ago, and it was like a light bulb moment for me. I don't want my child to grow up in such a loveless household. I don't want them to mimic the relationship we have, because I've realized that's what I've been doing. So, I started to make an exit plan. I only confided in one person, my sister-in-law, because I needed her help with something. But recently my husband has changed a lot. He is being very loving and attentive. He does nice things for me just because he wants to, he actually pays attention and is very affectionate now. It's like being married to a different man. This is who I thought I was marrying, not the cold unfeeling stranger he turned into. The one time I mentioned the sudden change, he minimized his previous behavior and he told me he wanted to make my first pregnancy a good experience for both of us. I'm conflicted on what to do now. I've pretty much stopped working on my exit because I have been so confused. Has anyone experienced something similar? Should I just count my blessings and enjoy the nicer version of him, or am I deluding myself into thinking this change will be permanent? Any advice would be appreciated. TLDR, husband has been aloof and unloving our whole marriage. I was planning to leave him, but since we found out I was pregnant, he has changed into someone loving and romantic. I'm now conflicted on what to do. Reply to the story. When I went through counseling with my ex-husband, my therapist told me, one of the many times my ex didn't show up, that if someone makes a change for the better, it should be consistent for a solid 6 months, because very few people can pretend to be someone else for that long consistently. That doesn't necessarily mean you should stick around that long. Just that most people who are just pretending to change, won't make it a true life change. And won't be able to act for such a long time. Them again, he's basically already told you it's a limited time deal. During your pregnancy, I left my ex for the same reason. So that our child wouldn't grow up in a home that held no love between the two people who made her. Trust yourself on this. Reply to the story. My ex-husband did this. I was ready to leave and bam, I was pregnant. I even talked to him about whether or not he even loved me or wanted this, and he said he did. He changed and was a completely different man for 8 months. Then a month before the baby was to arrive, he went back to his old ways. He had figured being that far along I wouldn't leave him, and same with after the baby was born. I left him when our son was 3 months old because our child didn't deserve to be raised by a mom who wasn't happy and a father who was indifferent. I'm not saying your husband will be the same way, but I would have your exit plan ready to go just in case things go back to how they were. Reply to the story. I don't know if the top comment is right or not. My husband worked 12-hour days. When he got home he was tired and wanted to do his own thing. Often he would come inside at 9 p.m., Every Saturday and Sunday he did his own projects. Like you said, it was like living with a roommate. After a time I asked for a separation. I figured I live 95% alone anyway, so why not be single? Suddenly he realized his mistake. He realized he was about to lose his son and wife because of his actions. He begged me to stay and said he would change. Honestly, I didn't believe him but wanted to give him a chance. It's now been a year and he has changed significantly. He cut down on work to be home at 5 p.m. He still does his own thing for 1 hour every day to wind down, which is fine, everyone needs their outlets, but then he will come in for family time. Same on weekends. On Saturday he does his projects, but all day Sunday is family day, and so far, for a year, he hasn't broken that. I think sometimes people can't see the harm they are doing to their spouse, and when they realize they are about to lose everything, it makes them think. Funny thing is, we are now closer than ever and he seems much happier. Give him a chance. At the very worst you decide it's not working and go separate ways, but hopefully this was a wake-up call and he sounds like he is really trying. Reply to the story. He could easily have sensed that you were about to leave. We don't really think about it, so you probably can't tell exactly what you might have done to set him off. Or your sister-in-law might have let something slip by mistake. The thing is, you've been married to this man for several years and brought this problem up to him with no change. How realistic is it really that this is the real him? I hate to say it, but it seems more likely that he's putting up an act, just like when you two met, and eventually you will get tired of it. Especially considering he doesn't even acknowledge his past behavior. No problem is solved, it's swept under the rug, but unlikely to stay there. Whether this change is triggered by your pregnancy or your plan to exit, does it matter? And how would your marriage hold up under the strain of a newborn? My suggestion is to pick up your exit plan again. You will have a hard time leaving with a newborn, or while heavily pregnant. If you two have any hope of salvaging this relationship, couldn't you two do this while you live elsewhere and get some perspective? This is too fishy. I really hope everything goes well for you. Edit. I just remembered. Is there any custody laws that would make a difference if you stay with him while giving birth? Can you go wherever afterwards? Where is your support system? Reply to the story. Nah. This worries me a lot, specifically because he refuses to acknowledge how he acted before. He's nesting and preparing for a child, and that's releasing happy hormones. His behavior is undoubtedly temporary, especially when the reality of what having a baby is truly like hits him. He is absolutely not someone you can depend on to support you and make you feel loved when you're both going through the worst of it. Take what you felt before and amplify it by 2000%. Imagine going through all the psychological and physical changes after birth, and feeling completely unloved by the person you created that baby with. Let alone the possibility of developing PPD. Don't let his love bombing completely distract you from 5 years of complete disconnection. How did you get pregnant mid-escape plan? I ask this because I feel like it could give some insight, not to be judgmental. Edit. Completely misread that. I'm sorry to hear that he was cold even during most of your pregnancy until recently. People don't change after 5 years of consistent behavior while denying they ever needed to change in the first place. That's not logical. I will say, your post doesn't mention anything about trying to fix the disconnect. Did you ever even discuss it? Ever tell him how you felt and invite him to couples counseling? Why exactly does his sister dislike him? Why did you go to her and none of your family? Right now, you should be building a support system that is actually consistent and dependable. Find what that means to you, moving closer to family/women who can possibly give a helping hand with the baby and emotional support. In my opinion, you two absolutely should separate. This allows you to work on your marriage, if you want to, with a clear head away from his new attitude. Also, you won't be forced into any nuclear changes, while being heavily pregnant or with an infant, in the event that things do not work. I just want to mention, legally you could run into a lot of issues relocating if you wait to do so until after the baby has arrived. Seeing what lies ahead of you, I personally believe making definitive progress and acknowledging the problem before the baby arrives is the only way you'll ever be able to find any happiness as a family. Ignoring it is going to make things so much worse. It may even be worth setting yourself up a therapy session to gather your thoughts and decide how to proceed. This is all so much to take in. Otherwise, be prepared to resign yourself to a cold, loveless marriage that will inevitably permanently fuck up your kid with intimacy issues.